Say you've been working with an ACC candidate for 3 months. You've reviewed 5 recordings. Your session observation forms are filled out. And now you're sitting down to prepare for the closing session, looking at the competency review form. The question isn't what happened in session 5. The question is, what happened across all 5? Where did this coach grow? Where are they still stuck? What does the trajectory tell you about their readiness? That's a different kind of analysis. You're moving from the microscope to the telescope. Both are necessary. The session observation form is the microscope. One session, one recording, detailed competency level analysis. The competency review form is the telescope. It synthesizes observations across all sessions in the engagement. The MCS handbook says you use it in the closing session to review the client's cumulative demonstration of coaching skills across all observed coaching sessions. One feeds the other. Session level data accumulates into engagement level patterns. Neither tool replaces the other. You cannot do the cumulative review without the individual session observations. And individual observations without cumulative synthesis are isolated data points that never become insight. The power of formative appraisal lives in the longitudinal view. Losing that reduces mentor coaching to repeated summative snapshots, exactly the model ICF moved away from. The session observation form tells you what happened in one session. The competency review form tells you what is happening across the engagement. One is the data source. The other is the analysis tool. Losing either one leaves you with an incomplete picture of the coach's development. When you sit down with your session observation forms, you're looking for 3 pattern types: consistent strengths, competencies that show up reliably across sessions. These are the most underused data in trend analysis. A strength like cultivating trust and safety that's solid from session 1 through session 5 isn't just a checkbox. It's the reason your client can attempt riskier coaching moves. When you name that connection, the coach sees their strengths as active enablers, not just things they're already good at. Recurring gaps, competencies that remain underdeveloped despite the engagement. If the same competency is flagged in sessions 1 and 4, the development plan isn't working for that area. Maybe the gap needs a different practice strategy. Maybe it's rooted in something deeper that requires coaching supervision rather than more mentor coaching. Recurring gaps are data, not failure. They tell you the plan needs to change. And breakthrough moments, sessions where a competency shifts from absent or developing to clearly demonstrated. These are the evidence that the Kolb cycle completed. The coach moved from understanding to doing. Each pattern tells you something different about the coach's developmental trajectory. Breakthroughs are the moments that make formative appraisal worth the effort. Say you've been working with a coach on competency 6 for 3 sessions. Each time, the same pattern. They hear the client say something significant and immediately move to the next question. You've named it. They understand it intellectually. And then in session 4, something shifts. The client pauses after sharing something difficult, and the coach just stays there. 4 seconds of silence, and the client goes deeper. That 4-second pause is the entire learning cycle made visible. Your feedback became their understanding became an experiment, and the experiment just worked. Mark that moment, not just on the form, in the conversation. When a coach can see the arc from struggle to skill, they trust the process. And that trust carries them through the next competency gap, which won't come as easily, MC Competency 4.4 partners with the mentor coaching client to reflect on their strengths and identify growth opportunities. Trend identification isn't something you do to the client and then present as a report. It's a conversation. You share observations. Across our 5 sessions, here's what I've seen in Competency 6. The client reflects, that matches what I've been experiencing. Or, I'm surprised, I thought I was making more progress. Both perspectives matter. The client's self-awareness about their development is itself a skill being developed through this process. MC Competency 4.5 identifies trends in the mentor coaching client's behaviors and competence across sessions to determine skill development. The benchmark: proficiency means consistent demonstration in at least 67% of opportunities across the engagement. If a target competency hasn't moved in 3 sessions, adjust the plan. If a non-target is declining, something has shifted. Trends make the plan responsive. The formative appraisal isn't separate from the learning process. It is the learning process. Session observations are the reflective observation phase. Trend identification across sessions is abstract conceptualization at the engagement level. The Kolb cycle from Module 3 explains why this works. You've built the formative appraisal skill set. The model and its tools, 4 levels of listening, competency identification with evidence, and development tracking across an engagement. What you haven't done yet is turn any of that into feedback the client can actually use. That's Module 5, and it builds directly on everything you've practiced here.